All right, in today's lesson, we're going to look at solving inequalities. Inequalities are those symbols that compare quantities. And those are symbols like greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. The first example on your note sheet says Cooney is trying to decide between two rate plans offered by a wireless phone company. And the table gives some information about the two plans. Plan 1. You can get cell phone service for $35 a month. Included in that's 400 minutes. Any additional minutes you get charged 40 cents per minute. Plan 2, you get for $55 a month. You get 650 minutes, so a little bit more minutes included that one. Additional minutes cost 35 cents a piece. All right, they ask us some questions now involving this information. So the first question being write an inequality to compare the price of plan 1 to the price of plan 2. If you look at just the price, we got $35 for plan 1. We have $55 for plan 2. If we're going to compare those, 35 is not as big of a quantity as 55, so we'd want to use the less than symbol. Less than points at the smaller thing. Open end always eats the bigger number. So that would be how you would show that. 35 is less than 55. All right, let's look at the next one. And number 2. Now they want us to write an inequality to compare the price of additional minutes in plan 1 and additional minutes in plan 2. Well, the additional minutes going down to this third row here is 40 cents and 35 cents. Well, 40 cents is greater than 35, so we would use the greater than symbol. Again, the open side goes to the bigger number. All right. Next one, number 3. In 3, they want us to compare the price of each plan if Cooney, if she uses no more than 400 minutes per month. Which plan is best? No more meaning 400 is the maximum amount she's going to use. Well, we got to be a little bit careful now. We got to look at the minutes included on each plan. Both plans do include at least 400 minutes. So basically, she would not be using any additional minutes. In this case, we would only be looking at the monthly access fee. So plan 1 would cost $35. Plan 2 would just be, again, the monthly access fee. Plan 2 would cost $55. So which plan is better in this case? Well, just comparing the simple prices, we would pick plan 1. Plan 1 would be the better choice here because it costs less money. All right, number 4 now. Now it gets a little bit tougher when we get to number 4 because in number 4, it says she uses 1,000 minutes per month. Which plan is best for her? So now we're increasing the number of minutes. 1,000 minutes is over the minutes included for both plans. So now we got to do a little bit more checking to see which one's actually best. Let's start again with plan 1. So in plan 1, we know we're going to have to pay the monthly access fee of $35 plus we're going to have to pay some additional minutes. The additional minutes in plan 1 cost 40 cents, 0.4. We're going to have to multiply that by the number of minutes over her included minutes. So the however many minutes we use minus the included minutes, in this case 400 minutes. So we want to use this to solve it out. Our number of minutes we're using is 1,000. So let's figure out how much this would cost if we plug 1,000 in for M. Okay, now using order of operations, we know we got to start with parentheses. 1,000 minus 400 is going to give us 600 additional minutes we need. Again, using order of operations, we got to multiply before we add. So take 40 cents times 600, and that will give you how much the additional minutes would cost. Add that to 35, and it looks like plan 1 is going to come out to equal a total of $275. So that's the total cost for plan 1. Let's do the same thing now for plan 2. See how much plan 2 is going to cost. So doing a very similar expression, Using the other numbers, plan 2 costs $55 per month. Additional minutes are only 35 cents here, times the number of minutes minus, here we have 650 minutes included. So we want to make sure we subtract off 650. Again, if we substitute 1,000 in for M, that leaves us with 350 additional minutes we're going to need, times the 35 cents. So multiply those together, add it to the $55 we have to pay, and that'll tell us the price for plan 2. And if you do that, it comes out to be a total of $177.50. So which plan is better here? Well, 177.50 is less than 275. If I were picking it, I would want to pick the one with less money here. Plan 2 is the better one if she's going to use 1,000 minutes per month. So that's using inequalities to compare values. All right, next we're going to look at solving inequalities. When you solve inequalities, it's just like solving equations that we did a couple days ago, except there's one important rule, and it's listed on your note sheet. Whenever you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must reverse the inequality symbol or flip the inequality symbol the other way. So anytime we run into that situation, we got to remember to reverse the direction. So let's look at number 5 here. On number 5, they want us to solve and graph this out. So to solve it, we want to start by solving just like we would an equation. Here it looks like all our variable terms are on the left, so we want to get all our constant terms to the right, which means we want to move this -9. Well, the opposite of subtracting is to add, so we want to start by adding 9 to both sides. That leaves us with 11y being greater than, we haven't multiplied or divided, we don't need to worry about flipping the symbol. If you add this up, you get 22. All right, now we need to divide by 11 because we're multiplying 11 times y. Divide by 11 to get our answer. Do we need to reverse the inequality symbol? Not at this point because we're not dividing by a negative, we're dividing by a positive number. So our inequality symbol stays the same way. And our answer is that y is greater than 22 divided by 11 is 2. So that would be the solution. So we've solved it. Now they also want us to graph this one out. Now if you look at your note sheet, to graph inequalities, you use an open dot for greater than or less than. You use a solid dot for less than or equal to or greater than to equal to. And then you shade in the direction that corresponds with the inequality. So here, somewhere on your number line, you want to list all the numbers you're going to need in order to graph this here. You want to find out where your point is that it's got to be less than or greater than 2. Here it's 2. We want to use an open circle because it's greater than, and then it's all the numbers bigger than that, so we would shade off to the right here. So that's what the graph of this one would look like. All right, I want you to try the same thing on number 6 for tomorrow. See if you can graph number 6 out and see what you get for that one. Let's go to the back and look at number 7. On number 7 here, they want us to solve and graph the following inequality. So let's see if we can solve this one. First thing, we want to get our goal is to get that variable term by itself. Now it's a little bit tougher on this one. We got this fraction. Anytime you got a fraction, you want to kind of deal with that after you move everything else away. So our first thing it looks like we want to do here, let's get this +1 to the other side. Let's get our constant term to the other side. So if opposite of adding would be to subtract 1. So now we're left with this fraction term greater than, oops, sorry. If we subtract 1 from 0, we're left with -1. All right, next step. Now we want to try to get rid of that fraction. Our variable n is being divided by 5. The opposite of dividing would be to multiply both sides by 5. So here we want to multiply both sides by 5. That would get these 5s to cancel out. On the left, we're going to be left with 2n minus 6 -1 multiplied by 5 is going to be -5. Do we need to reverse the symbol because we're multiplying? No, not here because we're multiplying by a positive number, not a negative number. So our inequality symbol stays the same. All right, now we're getting closer. Now this kind of looks like some of the other problems we've been doing. Add 6 to both sides. We got 2n is greater than 1. Finally divide, and again, we're not dividing by negative, we're dividing by a positive number. So our final answer on this one looks like n is going to be greater than 1/2 or 0.5. So that would be our solution. If you graph it, you need to label your number line. And here maybe since we're going by halves here, we might only want to label every other one. We're going to be using open circle because it's not, we're going to use open for greater than or less than, so we want to use open. So open circle at 1/2, and then we're shading to the right because it's greater than, all the numbers greater than that. So look at number 8. On number 8, again, we want to do some solving and graphing. So let's solve this one out. First thing we need to do is get our number terms to our constant terms away from our variable terms. So let's start out, and there's some different ways you could do this. Let's start out by subtracting 14. We got that gone. We're left with -8n is less than or equal to -14. Now we got to divide. We're dividing by -8. That cancels out. We're left with n. On the other side, -14 divided by -8 is going to be a decimal. We could leave it as 14/8, or it does simplify to the fraction 7/4. But here, this is the one thing we talked about before. If you're dividing or multiplying by negative, you do need to reverse the sign. So because we divided by a -8 here, it's a negative number, we need to reverse the sign the other way. So our answer is that n has to be greater than 7/4, and that is the solution. You could also write it as n is greater than 1.75 would also be an acceptable answer. Now we got to graph that out. So on your number line, what you want to do is label it. So here maybe we want to go by fourths or something. So we could have 0, 1, 2, etc. And it's greater than this one. 1.75 or 7/4 would be right here. And here we do want to shade it in because it does have the or equals to line underneath, and greater than would be to the right. So we're shading off that direction. All right, so that's graphing with it. The next thing we're going to look at is writing inequalities in some kind of sentence. And here you're trying to look at keywords that we talked about in yesterday's notes. It says twice the sum of a number, n5 is no more than 3 times that same number increased by 11. What you want to look at are some key things. And anytime you see is more than, that would be meaning greater than. If you see is less than, that would be the less than symbol. Some other key ones, if you see is no more than, that means it can't be any more than that. That means it has to be less than or equal to that. And if you see the term at least, that means you have to be at a very minimum that number, so that would be greater than or equal to. So those are some key terms we're going to be looking at. We'll look at these problems in class tomorrow.